Hi everybody, this is Ismael with another episode of Art Can Change the World, and today I wanted to kind of cover some basic things coming back to the wonderful issue of class management. Now, I've done one or two or possibly even 3 videos where I have talked about class management and how important it is, especially as a new visual arts teacher coming into the field. But also, it doesn't even matter if you're new or going into the field or already been in the field for, let's say, many years. I think class management will always surface because it's important that you have some level of control in your classroom. Now, the reason I tend to bring it up, and I've brought it up a number of times, is because universities and colleges do not teach new teachers coming into the field, no matter what subject it is, class management. It's all theory, concepts. I've heard professors say, well, if you have a great lesson plan, you won't have to worry about class management, you'll just engage them. That's not true. My experience has shown me that that is probably one of the worst advice I've heard of, because I have been very prepared for many classes and found that it wasn't enough to keep my students in their, let's say, in their seats and not talking and so on and so forth. So what I wanted to do today was really kind of give you some pointers in terms of some basic things that you should be able to do in your class. And these are not rules per se, but these are more or less tips. I know I've done this with my classes, and I've learned this from other seasoned, very seasoned art teachers who've been in the field 15, 20 years. So here it goes. So the first thing that you should know as a teacher going into your classroom is don't yell. Yelling can become a real problem. And yes, kids will get on your nerves. Kids will say inappropriate things. Kids will do things to each other. They will cause problems and issues with one another. It happens. And I've known, well, this has happened to me, where I just turn my back for a minute and something happens. They'll do something to each other, whatever. Yelling becomes, raising your voice. There are times where you need to raise your voice to kind of get them to attention, but if you're constantly raising your voice or you're constantly yelling, you've created a culture in your classroom that is not going to really benefit you and is not going to benefit the students. I try not to, if I'm making an emphasis on something, a concept or whatever, that's one thing. But when it comes to behavior or issues going within the class, be very careful not to make it a habit of yelling. And raising your voice is one thing, trying to get command, again, going back to that. But be careful not to yell. You don't want to be known as the yelling art teacher. And kids will become disengaged and desensitized to yelling. And eventually you'll find out that the yelling will not help you at all. It became, it should be something, or let's say raising your voice should be something that's kind of rare and catches their ears, and they notice, oh my God, Mr. A has raised his voice, Mr. B or whoever the art teacher is, right? So you want to be very careful of that. The second thing you want to do, wait until they listen. That's really what I wanted to say. Wait until they listen. By what I mean is, sometimes you'll have a group of kids come in, they're talkative, they're making a lot of noise, They're getting to their seats, they're, even though they're, you're there ready as a teacher, you're going to have to get them to the place where they come in quietly, they're ready to work, ready to engage in the lesson. But if they don't do that, one tip is don't do anything. Wait for them. Yeah, you may say to yourself, oh, well, I'm the teacher, I got to get them. But when you got a bunch of rowdy kids, and it happens, or kids that are not listening, once they notice that the teacher is not speaking or saying anything, he's just looking at them, they kind of get the signal, uh-oh, we better stop talking, we better stop making noise, whatever it is, and focus on the teacher, where, it doesn't have to be a visual arts teacher necessarily, any teacher. And I've seen this technique done many, 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 many times throughout school. Many teachers use this particular technique to kind of get them centered back into what the subject is. Make sure you have eye contact. That's tip number 3. Make sure that the students all have eyes on you when you are demonstrating a technique or discussing something that you're, introducing to your class. So if I'm teaching something that, especially when it's something brand new, I won't move in terms of the subject. I won't say any more unless I have all the eyes of my students looking at me. And if a student is turned around and I see his back instead of his front, I will wait and I'll tell that student, when you turn around, we'll continue. Because I need to have all eyes up front, and let them know that the reason why it's important is because if they don't know this particular subject, it may be a technique or a particular subject that they will need later on to help them improve whatever they're doing, right? So it's really important to get their attention, don't yell, wait until they listen, and have all eyes and faces on you. Okay, so that's really, really important. Another tip which I would share would be, don't take anything personal. There are teachers who kind of take things personal. If a student says something to you that you don't like, they'll say things, oh, art is boring. It happens. Or, oh, I don't like art. I think art is whatever. Don't take it personal. Especially when you're dealing with little kids, younger students. I work with middle school students, so 6th graders especially will say things that, let's say won't make me feel great, but I don't take it personal because they're just kids, and kids say things that are sometimes not necessarily encouraging or appropriate in some cases, depending on what they're saying. But you have to learn to kind of separate yourself and not take it to another level emotionally, because then teachers get very, they start picking on certain kids because they don't like what they said, or they become a little rough, and the kid begins to see, uh-oh, I caused an issue, or they want to continue instigating that. Because that's another thing, sometimes if you develop a back and forth with a student, you have to be very careful that you don't end up giving your power and your authority away in the action of trying to get it through to a particular student. Some students are difficult, and the best way to deal with that subject is don't do it by yourself. Make sure that you deal with the issue, and then have a protocol. And usually schools will have a protocol. One protocol is usually calling the parent if there's a problem. The next would be having an intervention with having the parent come up, and talking to them about their child's behavior. And in most cases, you'll find that if there's a real difficult kid, if you talk to other teachers in the school, you'll find out that that kid has been causing problems with other teachers. And but there's a right way and a wrong way. You don't want to have a shouting match with kids. You just don't want that. You're the adult, and you need to act like it. And you're the teacher. So try your best to really not take anything personal and just really try to work with the kid. In most cases, you'll find out that sometimes there's issues going on with this particular student that, that are kind of serious. And I mean, I remember one child, his behavior was a little difficult, but I found out that unfortunately there was a fire at their home and they lost their apartment. And things like that, or there's, or there was a death, that made, that kind of caused the kid to act out. Those are things that you have to be sensitive to, and don't judge a book by its cover. I really should add that one in as tip number 5, is that don't judge your kids. Yeah, they're going to be kids you're not going to like for whatever reason, but you're not there to judge that child. You're there to teach that child, and you never know. The one child that you think is not going to be successful because of their behavior or their work ethic is not great will be the one child that will do something amazing, that will let you see that this child has potential and has the same kind of dreams and hopes that every kid has, So they want to be somebody. They want to do something with their lives. So you as a teacher need to facilitate that and bring that out in them. I know for me, again, using my own experience, I had a child that gave me difficulty throughout the whole year. Then I did a particular project that this child just gravitated to. It just clicked for them. And they made a piece, they did an illustration for me that was one of the best. And I was so proud of that child. And I really I let them know how proud I was, that they really made not only such a good effort, but they did an outstanding job with their work. And after that particular student that had so much difficulty in began to really do well in my class, and I'm talking about behavior as well as their work. So, always remember, you're there to bring out the best in your kids, in your students. And yeah, it's not an easy job being a teacher of any, regardless of the subject. But it is so worthwhile because you never know how you can impact a child in a way that would really help them, move on positively and successfully. And you want them to succeed. That's the most important thing. You want them to succeed. And the last thing I would say as a norm, especially if you're a visual arts teacher, circulate around the room as much as you can. Look at the kids working, watch what's going on in your classroom. Sometimes if you move to one side of the room, make sure you go around that room to the other side. Look at their tables, listen to their conversations too, because sometimes they may say things, or maybe they're having an issue or talking about something other than the subject that they're doing, the work that they're doing. And you have to try to bring them back. Again, do it nicely, talk to them in a calm tone, but be stern as well. You can be calm and stern, and you don't have to be too critical in that way in terms of having an attitude with them, because kids could read that easily. They know if you're for real or not. And remember, if you don't have passion for what you're doing, and that means if you're a teacher who doesn't love teaching, you shouldn't be teaching. That's the honest truth. I know that there are plenty of people out there that just teach to get a paycheck. And they don't love their subject, they don't love their job, they don't like the kids at all. I feel sorry for people like that. You know, they need to find out what's best for them. Obviously, it won't be teaching. But if you are someone who wants to be a teacher, a visual arts teacher specifically, and really wants to explore what it's like and really give it a chance. You know, your first year will be rough. It's gonna be painful. You know, I'm not gonna make it sound it easy, because you're gonna go through a learning curve in terms of what works, what doesn't work. You know, it's important to have mentors and support from the school, as well as going to workshops and professional development and all of that stuff, which we'll cover in another video. But anyway, those are the tips for today and for this video. And I hope that you really think about some of these things. Again, give me some comments below in terms of if this video was helpful to you, and give me a like. I think it's on this side. I'm not sure which button it is, on what side, but give me a like on this video, and please, of course, subscribe to this channel. It's deeply appreciated. And until the next time, art can change the world, so you take care. Bye-bye.